Welcome to this week's video where I discuss what I believe is important for individual investors to consider over the next 5 to 10 business days as they make their investment decisions. We're going to discuss the resurgence of COVID. How is this affecting the stock market and certain sectors within the stock market? Seasonal factors. Usually this time of year, the stock market tends to be a little softer in August and a little bit more challenged as we move into September. And core or anchor stocks for a portfolio. Should you be considering tech stocks as a part of your core holdings in your portfolio? Over the last 2 to 4 weeks, we've seen a resurgence of COVID cases in the United States and here in our country. A lot of the reopening stocks that we've invested our hard-earned money into, they've sort of seen a bit of a pullback. A lot of people calling into question names in the airline space, the hospitality space as a whole in general. We've seen a lot of airline stocks pull back, such as Air Canada, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, etc. We've seen some of the retail names start to pull back as many call into question whether these stocks will continue to thrive or these companies continue to thrive going forward. In my opinion, I think this is a minor blip because I believe going forward, times are a lot different today than they were a year ago. And that's because we have vaccines, and these vaccines are the key to keep COVID under wraps. And going forward, I believe a lot of good is happening. Air Canada is opening up more flights. They're seeing a doubling of passengers over the last few weeks. And I know for a fact that when you go out there and go shopping in the malls and the stores, we're seeing a lot more people moving around. So I think perception actually has been a little bit more powerful than reality. But the reality is this, that people are shopping and they're traveling more than we've seen in over the last year or two. And I think at the end of the day, this will show up in corporate earnings and these stocks will surge ahead again in the future. At this time every year, we start to see some seasonal factors come into play with respect to how the stock market performs. August usually is a bit of a soft month for the stock market. And as we move into September, which historically is one of the worst months of the calendar year for stocks, we see investors start to get a little jittery. At the same time, we also notice with a lot of people on vacation this time of year, trading volumes are down quite a bit. So if we do see or get some sort of negative headline, this could affect the stock market's performance on an extreme basis because it's very thinly traded. One big trade or one big selling program could come in and take the market significantly lower. So this is something individual investors need to consider or think about as they move forward. However, as many of you know, I'm not a market timer. And if you have money to invest, I believe you need to put this money to work in good quality names, no matter what time of the year we are entering. And so going forward, don't hesitate if you have funds to invest. Look for good quality names, but understand there could be some seasonality factors that come into play over the next month to month and a half. Tech stocks, we all love them. They were a great defensive play during the COVID times in the spring of 2020. They've always been an aggressive play to grow one's portfolio really every year over the last 5 to 10 years. They seem to be the best place to put your money and the largest component of the S&P 500, the largest index in the United States. So should the biggest tech names be a core holding for your portfolio? I believe they should be. I call these names anchor stocks. Names like Microsoft, Apple, Google, some of the biggest tech names in the world. And we can't forget Amazon. I think every individual investor that's looking for growth should consider owning one or maybe a few of these names. Yes, these names are definitely not cheap, but they're the names that seem to carry us forward. They're the names that seem to take the market on their backs and move this market ahead to all-time highs on a regular basis. So when you're looking to build a portfolio, take a look at some of these large tech names, some of these $1 trillion or even almost $2 trillion companies. And I think you should consider looking at some of the more cheaper names in that group, and they will flip-flop over time, but definitely look at these names as a good core holding for your portfolio.